this season. Here's a look at the numbers against the Jazz. Defensively, Lakers were outstanding, holding the Jazz to just 91 points, 41% shooting. Out-rebounded the Jazz, more assists, 21.5 turnovers, second lowest versus any Western Conference match up. So the Lakers came to play against the Jazz. One thing, Big Game James and Rob, about the bubble. The games come quickly, so you have a chance to bounce back. So the Lakers struggled big time on Saturday offensively, just 35%. Here you are 2 days later, ready to get back at it.
And that's the formula you want after a bad game or a disappointing game. You want to be able to get a practice in, look at the video, and try to redeem or revenge that game. So that is one thing about the bubble. They're every other day, and they get a chance to also watch a lot of games on their off day. So it's a good thing to expedite those games so they can, fix the problem.
Yeah, let it roll off your back. You have to forget about it. And watching that game, I felt like the Lakers were really pressing because, no matter if they were on a team or not on a team, so many times losing to Toronto Raptors, and this is a team that LeBron pretty much owned when he was in the East, and he's just like, we need to end this streak. We need to go out and to watch them play. I'm like, I didn't even know who that team was. They looked like a totally different ball club.
Yeah, LeBron dominant when he was with the Cavs and the Heat against Toronto, but the Lakers haven't beaten him since 2014. So LeBron is actually 0-4. And James, when you look at this Jazz team and how the Lakers have played against them, outstanding. A huge road win in December on a back-to-back night after Denver that kind of told the rest of the league this Laker team is for real and kind of the dominant team in the Western Conference. But this feels like a new season. So what are you hoping to see tonight after the first two games?
Well, they need to recapture, some of the energy they had in the scrimmages as they led into the official games. And that's usually letting your defense dictate your offense. Me personally, I love the LeBron AD combo, but I think they got to get other guys involved earlier. Danny Green in particular has a tough time scoring off the dribble. He's not going to get his. You need to have an offense that can break down the defense, kick out where he's valuable. Guys like Pope, get them going. I see other teams, they have their guys off the bench and some of their fourth and fifth players getting involved early because that LeBron and AD. So I'm looking for a collective effort, but the defense is where it all is going to start.
I agree 100% with that. As you watch the game, the ball, when I say it was sticking in LeBron and AD, I don't mean it in a bad way, but it wasn't popping like it normally does. And those guys were kind of trying to do their thing to try to get back in that game. And that's what, stars of teams do. They kind of put it on themselves to go out there and try to attack and be in an aggressive mood. So, but sometimes you got to, rely on, as Shaq like to say, those other guys on the team that aren't the big dogs of the team. You got to go with the KCPs. You have to go with the Kuzmas and let them try to get the night because you never know. It might be their night to shine.
I want to ask you guys both this because there's not too many people that know more about championships than you guys. With a win tonight, the Lakers clinched the conference for the first time since 2010. It's a great accomplishment. But more than that, you want to be going into the playoffs feeling good about where you're at, right, James? Like that feeling you have going into a playoff. You just know when you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you know when everything's clicking. When you turn the key, the radio sounds good, the battery's working, the carburetor, everything. You can hear that sound. And that's the same thing going into the playoffs. Them clinching early, they have to be careful. I think Vogel has realized that they've had enough time off, and they got to keep everybody fresh. You got to still keep that killer instinct, even if they clinch early. So that's what I would be looking forward to, keep that killer instinct going, whether that's practicing hard, giving guys valuable minutes in the game, keep it going.
Rob, how important is it? You won 7 championships. I'm sure you didn't have the same feeling every single time. I'm sure sometimes going in you thought nobody can beat us, right? Was there other times where that momentum gained as you went on to each series?
Well, every time as a Laker and Spur, I felt like we were going to win those championships. Yeah. We had a better team. The only time it felt like that was when I was with the Rockets one time and we was a 6 seed. But
you went down 0-2.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, as a team, you can tell when a team gets a rhythm. And you can look at guys that's coming in the game, they're feeling good, they're feeling confident, and that's the biggest key. You know, you look at a lot of these guys now, they don't play with that same energy. It's a certain je ne sais quoi that they play with out there, and they're not playing with it. They're not playing with it because it's just a confidence thing. You know, guys are sticking their chest out, guys are talking, guys are pointing their pistols on the defense. You know, everybody always talk about the offense, but you can tell, even so, on the defensive end, how the flow is going, how they're talking to each other, they're moving the basketball, and they're just smiling and having a good time. And you didn't see that last game. The first game they did because I think they had the energy and they're drilling because they know it was a really true first NBA game back.
Yeah. It's interesting because the Lakers know where they're going to be basically in the Western Conference. A lot of these teams are playing for positioning and stuff, so you have to mentally be ready to up your game and get ready for the playoffs. For more on the Purple and Gold's matchup with the Utah Jazz, let's check in with the Lakers reporter, Michael Trudell. Michael, what's up?
Hey, guys, nice to see you. So, look, it's been pretty obvious, right, what we've seen in the first two ball games. The Lakers have been really good defensively, not as good offensively. In fact, their offensive efficiency has been last in the league in this tiny sample size of 2 games. So we talked to LeBron after last game. He thought it was just missing wide open shots. Wanted to address that with Frank Vogel also and just see what he thought and what he was seeing from the offensive perspective as they look to keep building, keep getting that thing going before the playoffs resume in a couple of weeks. Here's Vogel a couple of moments ago.
Well, the number one thing is our shooters haven't shown up yet. You know, that's the only thing. We're playing really good basketball. We're playing extra pass basketball. And, you know, we just had a couple poor shooting nights. We're also playing against 2 of the best defensive teams in the league the last 2 games. So obviously things are going to be harder. It's not much different tonight with Rudy Gobert in there. So, you know, it's just you have smaller margin for error against great defensive teams. So when you draw 2 to the ball and you move it on, you got to knock down shots from the backside. And, you know, we expect to do that. We get the same shots we got tonight that we got against Toronto. You could see us have 20 made threes. So, yeah, we just got to stay with it, keep trusting a pass, and we'll be okay.
Frank, is there anything that you want to see minutes-wise, whether it's starters, whether it's some more guys off the bench, or anything different in this game than from the first 2?
It'll be similar. You know, we're continuing to just strike that balance of, you know, competing to win, you know, using the guys that, you know, we're trying to accomplish different roles and, you know, continue to strike that balance. Probably similar to the first 2 games.
Before the last game, you said that you wanted to give major minutes to KCP and Caruso to get them accustomed to it, while also trying to work in Markieff and JR. Certainly working Markieff, but JR not as much. What are your goals in terms of trying to work guys in the rotation tonight?
Similar to that, you know, we're going to see how the game plays out with those guys. You know, I want to get Markieff and JR in particular, you know, more run to get them in rhythm. But you know, again, you know, we're gonna play the lineups that are gonna win the game for us. You know, and you know, if that means those guys get an opportunity, great. If not, you know, we'll go with the other guys.
All right, guys, so the Lakers played really well in their 2 games against Utah in the regular season. I suppose it's still the regular season, but you know what I mean, before the COVID hiatus. One thing that worked really well early in the season was Rudy Gobert, of course, plays the 5, so they went small in the second half. I thought it was a nice move by Vogel. That was one of those first times you saw that lineup click. But then they stayed big and beat the Jazz really badly, basically, as Gita referred to earlier on that back-to-back in December. So both lineups have worked so far against the Utah Jazz. We'll see what Vogel goes with tonight for the majority of the time.
All right, Mike, appreciate it. It's the Lakers and Jazz coming up at 6 o'clock here on Spectrum Sportsnet. Mike Conley was a huge pickup last summer for Utah, but he has struggled in his first season. His scoring is down 7 points per game from a year ago, but don't sleep on him. He won the horse challenge during the hiatus. It's a big deal to some. And coming up on Access, it's a tough road ahead for the Purple and Gold. Our insider tells us why he thinks the Lakers need to send a message to teams as they prepare for the postseason.
Access Sportsnet Lakers is brought to you in part by Wingstop, the official wings of the Los Angeles Lakers. Get exclusive Wingstop offers and Lakers swag on the Lakers app.
Hi, Wingstop.
threes. He's now 7 of 14 from 3 in the bubble. Waiters 12 points on 4 of 11. Caruso 3 for 6. He had 11 points. And following morning shoot-around, Frank Vogel spoke about the trust he's gained in Alex Caruso.
You stay around a guy, you get a little bit more familiar. And you study a lot of tape on a guy over the off season. When you come in to take the job, you build the relationship with a lot of one-on-one conversations. And, you're teaching points throughout the day. You see how much they carry that over onto the court. And, Alex has excelled with that. He is somebody that I trust late in games, in particular because of what he can do on both ends of the floor. And, he's earned my trust at a high level this year.
You always need to have that self-confidence to be successful, obviously, at a level like the NBA. But it's nice, real nice, to have the trust of your teammates and the head coach.
No question. I mean, he's earned that. I mean, here's a guy that's been in the G League, two-way player, not knowing where his career was going to end, and all of a sudden he gets a contract and is a major part of the team as far as I'm concerned. You don't have to reteach Caruso anything. You teach him once, and he's got it down. You don't have to remind him about pick and rolls and all this kind of stuff. He has that down, and he has the effort. And his antennas are always up. He's a smart basketball player. He makes the right decision. Extremely disruptive on the defensive end. He's a coach's dream. That's why he and LeBron together on the floor have such a high plus-minus together, because they just kick off each other very well.
4 years of college. That helps a lot.
Texas A&M.
It helps a lot. It's so amazing to see guys who have the road to get to where they want to be, like Caruso, because he always believed in himself. He always has talent. But now you're on that stage. You believe in yourself. Now you look around, the coaches believe in you. The best player in the game believes in you. We talk about it. That exudes a lot of confidence. When you have the confidence, there's nothing you can't do in the court or believe you can't do in the court, and it shows by his play. He's just going out playing good team basketball, and more importantly, knowing his role and not trying to do more than what he can do.
Yeah, I think you guys both bring up great points. Rob, I want to break that down with a little Access 360, what you've seen from the bench and how they've been playing?
The bench has been a bench mob. They've been playing really good, so we're going to break it down with this 360 and show you exactly how they doing their thing. All right, right here you see it's a good defense. What I like about Caruso, he gets up into the offensive player and tries to cause a little havoc. He pushes, he gets a little poke in the ball. Look at the dive by KCP on the floor, and then he gives it up to Caruso. Since you got the steal, the poke, we're going to reward you for an easy dunk on the other end. Now you got here over the top. As soon as I guarantee you he was looking into that offensive guy's eyes. As soon as he saw them get big, he knew the ball was coming. He put his hand up and stole it, gave it to my man Kuz for streaking for a layup. Now you got Dwight trying to block it, but you know what? I'm going to take it out real quick, give it to LeBron. LeBron said what? You know what? Every team likes to celebrate when they score. He gets it up to Dion Waiters. Cheese goes to the back and get an easy 2 baskets. You cannot rest, and that shows you these guys are taking advantage of the opportunity right there. You see, you're going to rest on your morals when you score. I'm coming back at you because you got to play defense to win this game.
One thing they talked about in the postgame was this second unit has to play with pace. James, obviously when you get to playoffs, minutes change, rotations change, but to win a championship, the bench is always crucial. At some point, to win a series,
it's probably the most critical aspect of the team. You know what the starter's going to do. You know the challenges they're up against is the bench. And Rob can attest to this. You're sitting over there and you're watching the first 5 or 6 minutes. You know the vibe. You know your teammates. You also have another 5 guys over there who are the practice players. They kind of compete extremely hard against these guys in practice to get them ready. But if you don't have a bench, someone who can come in and change the pace of the game or change the momentum, whether they do it on the defensive end or whether they come in and start making shots, something off that bench has to come in and either enhance or change the direction of the game. So you said it, Gita. It's critical, especially going into the playoffs.
Rob?
Yeah, the thing about this is when you coming off that bench, you got to be ready. And I don't think people understand how hard it is to come off this bench. If you come off the bench and you play in the fourth quarter like a Caruso, that lets you know you're making a difference in this game because the coaches depend on you. Once you come off that bench, you got to be ready. Starters are the sort of people they have an opportunity to get ready during the game. But when you're coming off that bench, you got to immediately jump right into the fire and be ready to rock and roll because it's hard.
As the Lakers continue to get comfortable in the bubble, we are doing the same thing. James, how you feeling over there standing up?
I like it over here, man.
You do kind of like it, huh?
A lot of people, tweeting, get big game a seat. Get the Hall of Fame a seat. But I like it over here, man. Keeps my blood flowing.
Yeah.
Social
you
distance.
like take little laps during the commercials, too?
Yeah, it's all good.
I like
if I want to sit down, I'll sit down.
Huh?
I like how you just do Hall of Fame. Look at the Hall of Fame seat.
That's a tweet. People tweeting. People tweeting say, yeah, get the Hall of Fame seat, man.
As he does it again. He does it again.
The older you get, man. I'm bringing up my high school accolades in a couple more years.
Rob, you have any more French for us? You had some in the A-block?
No.
Nope.
That was it.
All right. Only 33% from the field. Rob, Lakers also played two of the best defensive teams in the league. I know you're not too worried about LeBron.
I'm not worried about LeBron because he's still trying to ramp it up to get to where he needs to be. The bubble they just got in the bubble. They played, 5-6 games there, but he's still a process because he hasn't had as much time to go up and down. We know LeBron. We always say he's going to be ready. I think he's just, warming up because he's going to be ready. He still sees some of the things. You watch him in the last game, he really didn't take a lot of shots. He didn't really do what he normally does. He was just kind of sitting back trying to get his feet wet. But I know the king will be ready.
Yeah, definitely. He's an adjuster. He knows how to look at the game, look at video, see what he needs to do, what he may have not have done. And so he'll correct that. Like when you look at the stat sheet, he'll look at the stat sheet and he'll say 0 points for Danny Green, 0 for 7. He'll say, only 5 points for Pope. Bench did pretty good. So he'll find a way to get other people involved and make it easier for him to get scores. Get in the post, come off some picks and things of that nature. So his whole career, he's been the adjuster.
Rob, I know you're not a guy that really cares about numbers too much. You never were as a player. You just wanted to win. But I have a number for you to look for, 26. When LeBron James scores 26 points, the Lakers are 26-2, which tells me an aggressive LeBron means good things.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. If you get a LeBron that's being aggressive, and the thing that I love and would have wanted to play with LeBron so much, he always looks out for other people sometimes more than he should look out for himself. He has to take advantage of his stature on the court and just attack and go in attack mode and kill people because when he hits in attack mode, that makes the defense suck in. He gets those assists, and he needs to really be active in that way because if he's not active, everybody else kind of like just sitting around like, yo, man, we need you to create for us because if you don't create, we don't make buckets.
And it's okay to be a little selfish when you're that good for the reasons Rob just explained. You're going to get other people involved because, all eyes on LeBron. So, he'll figure this out, whether he post up, draw the double team, drive and kick. He'll figure it out.
All right, we all agree LeBron will find his stride. A big concern, though, the shooters finding theirs. The Lakers have been ice cold in the first 2 games in the Orlando bubble. I had mentioned this before, but 35% was the worst of the season on Saturday. They only hit 10 of 40 from 3, a lot of those wide open. On Thursday was their second worst performance at 39%. The Jazz, a very good defensive team. Do you have confidence in the shooters, Rob?
I definitely have confidence in shooters, but I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm like, these guys are so headstrong that they're shooting these threes at a massive clip. Hey, get to the rack, get your layup, and get your feeling going. But it's like they said, oh, no, I'm going to knock down 3. The next one is my shot. The next one is my shot. But this game is so the NBA game now is predicated on shooting threes so much that it's almost like a bad thing to get a 2-point, unless it's a dunk. And I think some of these guys need to take that into mind. Say, I just need to see it go through the net, get me a feel for it, drop through, and then go from there. But they don't.
James, a lot of this league, it's built on reputation, right? And Danny Green has 2 rings. He's always been that guy that can knock down the 3 in big games. He's capable of hitting 7 in one game. We've seen it in an NBA Finals. We've seen what he's able to do on the defensive end. We saw it in college when he played for North Carolina. Struggling so far in the bubble, especially against the Raptors. He was 0 for 7. Do you ever worry about a vet like Danny Green come playoff time?
Not come playoff time, because usually come playoff time, you usually corrected things that you needed to that happened in the regular season. Danny Green's a guy that can't really create his own shot off the dribble. That's why it's important for the offense to kind of, flow with him and look for him, set some picks for him, and things of that nature. The other thing is they've been getting some shots. a lot of them haven't been falling. So you got to give them, credit for at least getting some shots. But I don't think they're the easy shots. And I haven't seen a pump fake, except for Waiters. I haven't seen a pump fake drive into that mid-range game and get a 15-footer. Rob's exactly right. You're obsessed with the three-pointer, and there's so many fouls on the three. So guys are coming after it.
Yeah.
They want to block that three-pointer. So I haven't seen just a nice little pump fake. Go in and get that 17-footer.
And James, if you don't get that 17-footer and they converge on you, then you're swinging it around.
Somebody's
you'll have
gotta
even
help.
more wide open three. So, all right, Lakers look to bounce back in tonight's matchup with the Jazz, and you got to feel good about their chances because they have the best record in the league against plus 500 teams. They're 18-11. Rockets 17-11. The Heat 15-10. Bucks and Clippers round out the top 5. Let's check back in with our Laker insider, Mike Bresnahan. He's waiting patiently at home. He's wearing a tie. He looks great. Brez, he did not win Coach of the Year, but you have been impressed with the job Frank Vogel has done.
Indeed. And what was announced today was not quite the official NBA award. It was actually announced by the Coaches Association, but indeed they said that Frank Vogel was one of 8 coaches who received votes as the NBA Coach of the Year. It was interesting what they did. It actually was a tie between Mike Budenholzer of Milwaukee and also Billy Donovan of Oklahoma City. But Frank has done great work with the Lakers. Keep in mind, they only had 5 guys coming back from last season, a lot of new faces on that roster. Of course, they won only 37 games last year. It helps to pick up a guy named Anthony Davis, though, and Frank has done a really nice job kind of navigating he and LeBron, making sure both those guys are part of the game plan night in and night out. Laker defense playing really well throughout the season, a top 3 defense going in to the shutdown, and still right around there. They've had 2 good defensive games. Frank Vogel getting votes for the unofficial Coach of the Year award. The official one from the NBA is still about a month or 2 from being released.
All right, Brez, we spent time during the shutdown talking about what Dion Waiters can bring to this team. What have you seen for the first 2 games?
As everybody predicted before the season, Dion Waiters would join the Lakers, not play a game for them until after a 4.5-month worldwide pandemic, and actually have a really nice impact. I mean, he's been great the first 2 games. He's part of that really strong bench. I like what he's doing. He's one of those 2 guys on the reserves that can kind of create their own shot, along with Kyle Kuzma. He's not hitting threes. That's okay, because really no one on the Lakers is hitting threes right now. But he's become a really dependable player in a very short time with the Lakers, averaging about 10.5 points in only 2 games. And by the way, guys, in those 2 games, he is plus 25 in the plus minus category. I know, Rob, that's one of your favorites right there.
Yes, it is. But the funny thing, Brez, as soon as you said what you said, Dion made 2 threes in the clip. So I'm like, yes, that's what he get for not putting me on his list.
That's what you get. That's what you get. Brez, thank you. We'll see you in the post-game show. All right, we're getting closer to tip-off in the bubble. Joe Ingles is a guy you should never leave open, but this career 40% shooter from deep hasn't been able to buy a shot against the Lakers this year, just 25% and 3 points per game. And next on Access, we'll look forward to a potential bounce-back game from the Brow tonight against the Jazz. Big man Rudy Gobert. So if you see these numbers and you did not watch the game, one would ask what happened to AD. And Rob, break it down with Access 360. The Raptors always throwing an extra defender at Anthony Davis. So he was making the right plays, according to Coach Frank Vogel.
Yeah, sometimes you think it's the player, but sometimes you have to give credit to the other team's defense. In this Access 360, we're going to show you exactly what the Raptors were doing. The Raptors were smart. They put a smaller, more agile player on AD. So you see him like they dig, he gets out, he contests the shot, he stays down. And look, he got another guy, another defender coming in, he swipes and he contests. That's the main thing you have to do in basketball, contest also. See, you get AD to pick and roll, but he waits. Siakam comes out and he's guarding, he stays down, and there's always another man in the pocket, another defender. Watch the defender comes over and deters AD from driving and kicks it out to LeBron. LeBron drives, he kicks it back. They look, Siakam, a nice contest right there, and AD misses the shot. And that's everything that the Lakers try to do with AD outside the post. It's like the Raptors had an answer for that because you know what? We're going to have a guy in the pocket to dig, and when you put it on the floor, we're going to dig and try to deter you from taking the shot. And he was just kicking it, but he just wasn't making the shots.
Yeah, James, listen, we all understand playing the right way. When you get doubled, you got to make that ball move. Sometimes you just want to see your big man dominate. If this was a series, would you expect the Lakers to get him the ball in a different spot? You talked about this. We were talking in commercial break. Getting on the post and letting him eat.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest difference in today's modern game and what the game used to be not too long ago. when you had a Shaquille O'Neal, when you had a Davis or Roberts or somebody like that. It's a big difference in having the defense in front of you and then having the defense behind you. So as a big talented guy, I think he and the coaches have to recognize that. Like, I would have gone to maybe a couple of plays and seen what they were doing. Then I would have gone straight to the post and, let them defend that. So he's closer to the bucket. He's agile. He's got great footwork. So you got to mix it up sometime. He used to be a guard. So he's used to, playing a little bit out there with the dribble. But when the defense, plays the way Toronto, it doesn't work. So you got to go to the second alternative.
And Rob, one way to get back on track is to play a guy like Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz, especially when Gobert has won twice in a row the Defensive Player of the Year. AD loves that matchup. He's absolutely dominated the first 2 times this season.
Yeah, you always want to, try to show someone up, and it gives you a little motivation knowing this guy's supposed to be the best defensive player in the NBA. And now he has the opportunity to do what he was trying to do against Siakam, because now you have a guy that is not as mobile and as agile as Siakam.
He ain't going to post him up, Rob.
Yeah, you can put him on the skates and put into play your guard stuff. But here, he can still post him up, face him up, and go around him and do things like that because he's smart enough to pump fake. And Gobert, we all know, is a great shot blocker. He's going to go for all that so he can get him to a position where he can get to the free throw line, get Gobert in foul trouble, and then send him over to the bench.
There's one thing you can't do with Gobert. You can't hesitate. You have to go at him, go at his body, go strong to the bucket. If you sit around and wait, let him get comfortable and try to do all these fundamental moves, he's going to get that. So that would be my thing. Catch, go right at him quick, see if you can pick up a couple fouls early, make him think about that.
Here's a look at those numbers, the head-to-head matchups that we were talking about. The battle of the bigs, and it'll be on display tonight. You see what AD has done, 24 points a game, 57% from the field, 4 blocks. Rudy Gobert, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in a row. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 2-0. AD, the one that counts. We now bring in Allie Clifton for a little more. And Allie, AD said it from day one. He said it when he sat at the desk with us. He wants Defensive Player of the Year. And when he plays against Gobert, he just seems to have a little bit extra. And he has dominated those first 2 matchups.
That right there, Gator, is what excites me about the matchup within the matchup. You've got a guy who is a back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert, as we've talked about. And then you've got a guy who not only changed cities, changed organizations, but before even putting on a Lakers uniform, said out loud vocally that he wants to be the Defensive Player of the Year. What's not to like about that? Especially if you're a Laker fan. But with that said, where I think AD has such the ability to separate himself in this conversation, guys, is not only his rim protection ability to play at the rim, but his ability to then step out, space the floor, and provide the versatility that he does for the purple and gold. His ability to knock down the 3-ball. And what I think has been most exciting and most fun about him all season long watching is his ability and want and desire to take the challenge defensively guarding perimeter players. And so when you've got the 2, no disrespect, taking nothing away, again, from a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert, but it's where AD, I believe, has won this matchup outside of just the 2 regular season matchups so far this season.
And Allie, if they put AD at the 5, which we're seeing more and more of, that creates opportunities for Laker guards. Why?
I mean, Geeter, the guy to your left right now, literally, who retired 20 years ago, who struggles sometimes to get out of this chair at the end of the night, Big Shot Rob, he has to be salivating. Big Shot, I love you. With that said, the point I'm trying to make here is that if you go back to that matchup, October 25th, as Mike Trudell started at the start of the show by saying when Frank Vogel decided to space out and start AD at the center position out in the perimeter, as a guard, as a backcourt player, the spacing, the amount of opportunities, that ball is going to find you. You don't want to have a night where you shot the ball just like you did against the Toronto Raptors, again against the Utah Jazz. You got to be able to step up, knock down that shot. And of course, guys like you, Rob, here is your compliment. You would always have
I thought she was talking about me till she said 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah, she said 35 years ago.
Come on.
My body ain't that bad. I can get out the chair now.
Hey, Allie, I know we talk a lot about this, James and Rob. The internet is